Happy morning, dear students. Today I'm going to give a small presentation about a topic called whistleblowing. And I'm definitely sure that you might all have heard about whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is one of the most effective ways to detect and prevent corruption and other malpractice. If an employee report wrongdoing that they believe is in the public interest, it is called as whistleblowing. And whistleblowing examples can include criminal activity. It could be like theft, or it could be unethical or unjust behavior in the workplace. It could be in the form of any kind of discrimination, racist discrimination, or sexist or a homophobic behavior. And the whistleblowers' disclosures have exposed wrongdoing and fraud, and it helped save millions in public funds and avoid disasters for health and the environment. And whistleblowing can be done only by a member in the organization. And maybe say for example, when something is illegal or immoral is happening in an organization, and that could be brought into light by a member or a former employee of an organization, he can report it to the higher officials. And there are various types of whistleblowing. Whistleblowing can be classified into three: personal, corporate, and government. Like when a person or a group of persons is subjected to immoral behavior or exploitation, then it is called as personal whistleblowing. Corporate whistleblowing refers to a disclosure about the misconduct on the part of a company. And government whistleblowing is like when a disclosure about government officials or any department in the government, when they do something wrong or immoral conduct, it refers to government whistleblowing. And there are several motives of whistleblowing. The main are four in number. The first one is to enforce ethical conduct. See, whistleblowing is mainly done to make the person or an organization realize and adopt ethical behavior. They have to follow the ethical principles in their workplace. And another important motive is to highlight the dangers. Like, what are the negatives or what could be the possible dangers of whistleblowing? That could be pointed out, right? And the next important motive is to highlight threat to public. And see, a disclosure can be made about the dangers which could be brought for life and property because of a defective product or a technique. And the next important motive is to motivate towards morality. See, mainly the managers has to be inspired. The government officials should be inspired to follow or to adopt moral values and ethical practices. And there are several conditions for whistleblowing. The morality of whistleblowing might be viewed from the perspective that the corporations have a moral obligation not to harm anyone, may it be the employees or the society on the whole. D. George, he identified five criteria when whistleblowing is morally permitted. The first one is the firm's actions will do serious and considerable harm to others. The second criteria is that the whistleblowing act is justifiable once the employee reports it to the immediate supervisor and make moral concerns. Third criteria is that any action taken by the supervisor, the employee should take the matter all the way up the board if necessary. Like when the supervisor is not adhering to the words of the employee, he can take it to the higher officials if necessary. The fourth criteria is that documented evidence must exist that would give a reasonable and impartial, convincing, matter which is correct. And the last important criteria is that the employee must reasonably believe that going public will create some change in order to protect the public, and it is worth to risk to oneself. So if I'm taking a risk, and it should be for the betterment of the public, and it should be worth enough to risk it. Okay, so these are the important conditions or criteria for whistleblowing. And there are certain situations when the whistleblowing can be justified. Okay, whenever and wherever the product or a service of a firm will cause harm to the public, and wherever an employee feels serious threat to or harm to him or to anybody, he should report it to the firm immediately without any further delay. And before reporting any subject, an employee should have evidence that should convince an observer about the necessary of whistleblowing. And if an immediate boss does not care, okay, what the employee could do is he could take it to the highest level to present about the need for an action which is to be taken by the higher officials. And the next important is we have to talk about the uh, Whistleblowers Protection Act. See, it is basically an act of parliament which is passed by the Indian government, which provides a mechanism to investigate corruption and misuse of power by public servants, government officials, or anybody for that matter, when they use their power in a wrong manner, or when they involve in corruption. So maybe this mechanism will be there to investigate that. And it also protect anyone who exposes alleged wrongdoing in government bodies, projects, and offices. And the how did this act come into existence? We have to look into it. The UN Convention Against Corruption, to which India is a signatory since 2005, and it encourages the states to facilitate reporting of corruption by public officials and provide protection for witnesses. Okay, and the convention also provides safeguards against the victimization of the person who is making the complaint, because any chance of misusing the evidence are there. So it is necessary that the person who is making a whistleblowing has to be safeguarded. So to confirm with such regulations, in 2011, Whistleblowers Protection Bill was proposed, which finally became a law in 2014. And there are certain arguments against whistleblower protection. People say whistleblowing is not good. Why do they say that? The first reason is that the employees, what they do is they might find it as an excuse to blow the whistle in order to cover up their inefficiency or incompetency or inadequacy. Like when they don't perform well, or when they're not competent enough to take up a task, or when they are not in a position to work properly, what they do is they simply blame the higher officials. So that chances are there. So people say that the employees, they find it as an excuse to blow the whistle unnecessarily without any reason. And the second argument against whistleblower is that it is very difficult for the manager to run the company effectively because because it is because whistleblower will always have a chance to misappropriate things. So the legislation always protect the whistleblowers and their rights on the employees. So that is why it's very difficult for the managers to run the company effectively. And when we talk about the arguments for whistleblower protection, and whistleblower will always bring out the best thing which should happen in the society. And when anything illegal or immoral is happening, it will be brought into limelight. And the second important argument for whistleblower is that it gives the freedom of speech. Like you have the liberty to say anything you want. Being a democratic country, everyone has the free right to speak. So that is the reason why we encourage whistleblowing. And there are some important components of whistleblowing policy. The first thing is, like as already discussed, it should be in the form of a statement. A whistleblowing should be in the form of a statement where all the evidences should be produced. And the second important component is a clear defined procedure of reporting. It must be properly reported through proper channel. You have to follow that code of conduct when you are reporting an issue to the higher officials. And that issue has to be brought to the notice of the well-trained personnel who are into this to investigate the reports submitted by the whistleblower. And the well-trained personnel should have a commitment to take appropriate action against the people who involve in any immoral activity. And basically the whistleblower should have some good faith in the uh, personnel. They should feel that, okay, if I go approach them, I'll get some justice, my issue will be solved. So that guarantee must be given by the personnel. These are the important components of whistleblowing policy. And let us have a discussion about whistleblowing with an example through a case study. We can understand a case study of whistleblowing with relevance to India. And I think most of you all would have heard about the Golden Quadrilateral project. It is nothing but a project which connects all the four major metro cities of India: Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. And this was one of the major development of the Indian transportation sector, because it connects all the four metro cities. And this case is all about Satyendra Dubey. He is nothing but he was an Indian engineering service officer, and he was the project director in the National Highway Authority of India at Koderma. And he was murdered in Gaya, Bihar, allegedly for his anti corruption related action in the Golden Quadrilateral Highway construction project. So on 27th November 2003, on his 30th birthday, Dubey was returning from a wedding in Varanasi, and he called his driver to meet him at the railway station. And he reached Gaya railway station at 3 in the morning. And he found that the car was not able to come because of some battery malfunction. So it appears that at this point, Dubey decided to take a rickshaw to reach his home. When he didn't reach home, his driver went to look for him, and he found him dead by the side of the road in the suburb of AP Colony. He had been shot dead. And the news ignited tremendous public hue and cry. The matter was raised in the parliament, and the prime minister, what he did was he shifted the onus of this investigation from the Bihar police to the Central Bureau of Investigation. And the CBI, they registered a case against the unknown persons under Section 120B for criminal conspiracy and Section 302 for murder of the Indian Penal Code and various provision under the Arms Act on 14th December 2003. Like, what exactly happened? Why was he murdered? And he found out some major issues which happened in the Golden Quadrilateral project, infrastructure project. And because he found, the first reason was it was a sloppy project report which was not worth, and mainly the people involved in the project, they won the contract on the basis of some forged documents presentation, and huge advances were doled out to contractors. And basically L&T was the company who took the primary responsibility of the completion of Golden Quadrilateral project. And what they did was they had been subcontracting the actual work to smaller technology groups which were controlled by the local mafia. And everyone, from the government engineers to MNC construction companies, everyone to local thugs, they seemed involved in the loot of public money. And what did Dubey do? See, what he did was, when he found out that something was not going as per the uh, plan, he wrote a letter to his boss, NHAI Project Director SK Soni, and to Brigadier Satish Kapoor, who engineer overlooking the supervision. And there was no action. And so what he did was he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister. And Dubey, he also sent the same letter to the chairman of National Highway Authority of India. And Mr. Dubey anticipated trouble. He found out something was not good and it was unusual. And he wrote a second letter, again requesting anonymity, but it was completely ignored. And the Prime Minister's office didn't bother to investigate or to look into the matter seriously. And for an act of murderous negligence, the Prime Minister's office, they handed over both the letter and the sheet with Satyendra's particulars to the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. And at least 8 officials, they scanned it before passing it on to the National Highway Authority of India. And the end was very, very pathetic. In 2003, Dubey was found dead in Gaya. So, whistleblowing always, not always, but sometimes it has a negative impact also. Maybe the person's life will be a question mark, or his family will be put for task. All that happened. And there was a similar case related to Satyendra Dubey. He was another person, also was a whistleblower. He's Mr. Shanmugam Manjunath, and he was a sales officer for the Indian Oil Corporation, and he was murdered for sealing a corrupt petrol station in Lakhimpur Kheri, Uttar Pradesh. And this incident inspired several students of IIM, IIT, and what they did was they set up a Manjunath Shanmugam Trust. And while working for the Indian Oil Corporation in Lucknow, Shanmugam ordered 2 petrol pumps at Lakhimpur Keri sealed for selling adulterated fuel for 3 months. So he ordered the petrol bunks to close down for 3 months for selling adulterated fuel. When the pump started operating again a month later, he decided to conduct a surprise raid around on 19th November 2005. And his father was so worried about Shanmugam, and he was literally trying to approach him, but he didn't reply, and so his father, he sent an SMS stating, "How are you?" And there was no reply because that night, during his inspection, Manjunath has been shot dead in the town of Gokarnath in Lakhimpur Kheri, and his body, riddled with at least 6 bullets, was found in the back seat of his own car, which was being driven by two employees of the petrol pump. Both were arrested, and the main accused, the pump owner Pavan Kumar Mittal, was held on 23rd November along with 7 others. So, when something is happening around you and you find that it is immoral or, you know, unlawful or unfair, you blow the whistle, especially in our workplace. So we should be a part of the solution and not the problem. So this is a campaign ad which gives us the importance of whistleblowing. And thank you so much, and catch you with another presentation very shortly. Thank you.